Hello, witches. I am High Priestess Austin Phoenix here live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube about this very pressing question that I get asked every single day by witches, and that is, how do I make my spells work? How do I make my spells work? It's the question that is constantly asked of me, and I'm here now to finally put this question to rest. Finally put this question to rest. Most of you may have been witches for years and had no results from your spell. So you ask me, how do I make my spells work? Well, let's talk about what a witch is. A witch is someone, male or female, that does witchcraft. What is witchcraft? Witchcraft is working with the energy found in nature to bring about real, significant, and permanently positive change in the witch's life or in the lives of their community that they hold on to as family. Witchcraft is not harm. It's not much different from making a wish on a birthday cake. That's probably one of the first spells we have ever cast, making a wish on a birthday cake. That's witchcraft. Yeah. Don't let the Christians lie to you. Don't let the Christians lie to you. Blowing out your cake and making a wish is witchcraft. Yeah, it's witchcraft. No, it's not. Yes, it is. It's witchcraft. That's the truth. Accept it, reject it, but I've just told you the truth. A spell is an intention. You have a goal that you want to meet. You have a barrier that you want to break through. You have an enemy that you want to make feel the pain that they have inflicted on you. You want abundance. You want prosperity. You want material things. You want more money. You want to be famous. You want wealth. You want to break generational curses. All of this is possible through witchcraft. All of this is very possible through witchcraft. But to make those spells and all spells work, I hope that someone has a notebook and a pen and is going to write this down or write it in the comments so other people can see it. The way to make any spell work is to do real world action. Real world action. You have to do something. Nothing changes if, guess what? Nothing changes. You have to do real world action. Many of you witches who message me are not doing anything after doing a spell. It's not enough to just do a spell. Where is the real world action? When are you going to do your part? When are you going to do your part so that Hecate can add her power to your efforts? Or any other deity or god or goddess or ancestor or spirit animal or familiar that you work alongside can add their power onto your own efforts. When your chosen deity or god or goddess or Hecate sees you making an effort, they will add their power onto you. But you have to make an effort. It's not enough to just say, I want a house. I want a car. What are you doing in this reality to get that house or that car? What are you doing? If you answer, I'm not doing anything but casting a spell and going on my merry way, that's why your spell is not working. Nothing changes if nothing changes. You have to do something, anything. You have to make an effort. You have to make an effort. If you make no effort, your spell will yield no results. And it should not yield any results because you didn't do anything tangible. You have to do something. anything. For some of you witches watching this broadcast, you may need to start taking personal responsibility and accountability. I said this a million times, more than a million times. When you become a witch, you have to take personal responsibility for yourself. You have to take accountability. There is no devil among witches to put the blame on when our spells don't go how we want it to. There is none. If you want somebody to blame for everything going wrong in your life, become a Christian. That's not an insult. That's the truth. We know that Christians blame everything on the devil. I just farted. That was the devil coming out of my booty hole. That's the truth. When you become a witch, you have to take personal responsibility and accountability. You have to. There is no alternative. There is no such thing as taking a little bit of responsibility or a little bit of accountability. When you are a witch, you have to be all in. I said this before, and this rings true on this message here live. Witches live with 1 foot in the natural world and 1 foot in the supernatural world. That means when witches do a spell, ritual, hex, or curse, they are working alongside the supernatural, but they have to do something in the natural so the supernatural can be activated and work in their favor. Witches do witchcraft after they have exhausted all natural, all mundane ways of getting what they desire. Witches do witchcraft when they have exhausted all natural and mundane ways to get what they want. They go to nature. That is the definition of witchcraft. Working with the energy found in nature to bring about real significant and permanently positive change, to not go through life the hard way. Because guess what, witches? No witch should be struggling. No witch should be going through life the hard way. Everybody else who are not witches can go through life the hard way. Maybe if those people who are having a hard time in life, maybe if they were witches, their life wouldn't be so bad. But no, they choose to follow Muhammad. They choose to follow Jesus. They choose to call themselves Christian witches. There is no such thing as a Christian witch. That may insult somebody watching this live or watching a replay, but it's true. There is no such thing as a Christian witch or a Islamic witch or a Jewish person who follows the Jewish faith witch. It's not real, except in their mind. The reason why they can't be witches is because they will not admit that Hecate is the queen of witches. They will put Muhammad and Christ as the queen of witches, and they are not. That's an insult to Hecate. You can't lower Hecate to the status of a Christ or a Muhammad. That's an insult. Hecate is above Muhammad. Hecate is above Christ. That's the truth. Take what you want to do with that and spread what I just said far and wide. That's the truth. So suck it up and deal with it. It's the truth. It's the truth. You make your spells work by doing real world action. I'll give you a couple examples. Let's say you have a big exam coming up. Let's say you have a driver's exam to get your license coming up. You don't study for the exam. You don't practice driving a car. And then you go into the examination car with the instructor and you fail the test, you fail the written exam. Why? Because you did not study for the test. You did not practice in a car, so therefore you failed the test and received no license. You do not deserve a license because you did not prepare. You had no interest, clearly, in preparing for this upcoming driving exam. Here's another example. You have a test coming up, a school test coming up. You have studied for the test for 6 months. And you do a spell to give yourself a higher grade. And the test comes, you take the test, you pass the test, you get a 90 on the test instead of the average 75%. Instead of the 75%, you got a 90%. Why? Because you actually studied for the test for 6 months. You were prepared. Most people do not study for 6 months for a test. You did real world action by studying for those 6 months. You did it. And then you did a spell to get a higher grade that you did earn through your real world actions. That's why I don't have a conversation with witches who message me telling me that their spell didn't work, or how do I make my spell work? Because I've been saying for years and years and years how to make your spell work, and it seems like they don't listen. It goes over their heads, or they don't want to do all that extra work, as they say it. Well, guess what? If you don't want to work in the real world to make your spells work, your spells will not work. Your spells don't work unless you work. You work, your spells will work. You don't work, your spells will not work. You have to do something. You know, I said before, if your spells don't work, you're not a witch. If your spells don't work, you are not a witch. You are not a witch. How can you be when your spells don't work? You're not. You're just playing with it. And I know witches who are just playing with it because they're coming to me to help solve the problem. I can't solve the problem because I can't make you do. I can't make you do real world action. I can't make you do anything. You have to be the one to do it. When you are a witch, you are different from everybody else. As witches, we go the extra. Did I mention extra mile to obtain what our heart desires? Yes, we do. That's the truth. When you are a witch, you go beyond the limitations that men see for themselves. As witches, we don't see any limitations. We don't see any obstacles or barriers that can't be brought down. We don't see any people who pretend to be obstacles not kneeling in front of us, not being put at our feet or under our feet or used as a footstool. We don't. Witches operate in the supernatural. That's true. That is 100% true. But witches also operate in reality. Witches also operate in reality. You have to do something. You have to do something. If you have been a witch for maybe a year now and your spell has not worked, yeah, you need to go back, take lots of notes on this broadcast. Listen to this broadcast. Turn this broadcast into a MP4 file. Yeah, I'm talking to you witches. If you have been a witch for a year now and your spells have not been working, yeah, you need to rewatch this broadcast. Maybe even write down every word I've said. You may need to turn this live broadcast into a MP4 and listen to it, and listen to it some more. Yeah. There is no reason why, there is no excuse, I would say, as to why you have been a witch for a year, for 12 months, and not one of your spells has worked. You've been a witch for a year and your spell has not worked. My question always is and will always be, well, what are you doing? Seriously, what are you doing? What are you doing? It's always the responsibility. Witches are always accountable as to why their spells did not work. You want to know how to make your spells work? Work. Keep pushing. You may have to do something as simply as cleaning up your altar. You may have to start daily devotion to your chosen deity or God or goddess or ancestor or familiar or spirit animal. You may have to actually clean your house. You may have to take a ritual bath with certain herbs and flowers and oils. You may have to sage your house. You may have to clean your windows with lemon juice. You may have to clean your floors not with bleach and fabuloso, but with lemon in that water, with just water. You have to do something different. You may have to finally clean out that basement or that attic or that garage. You may have too much clutter. I mean, too much physical clutter in your house for you to actually focus on the spell at hand. You may have to get rid of certain people in your life. You may have to stop being friends with certain people, even though you may have been friends since preschool. So what if they are stopping you from having a life of real significant and permanently positive change? Yeah, you may have to get rid of Susie, even though you have been friends since preschool. If Susie is holding you back from being a witch you want to be, bye Susie, bye. Simple as that. Because your well-being comes first. The reason why the witch's well-being comes first is because the witch is the powerhouse. Witches are powerhouses. Witches are powerhouses. Witches are powerhouses. Witches are powerhouses. You're not average by any stretch of the imagination. You have never been boring. You have never been, oh, here comes this person. This person is so lame. This person is such a geek. This person is such a loser. A witch has never been any of those things. And a witch will never be any of those things. Ever. Witches. Witches are powerhouses when their spells work. When they take personal responsibility. When they take accountability. When they make an effort. When witches make an effort, that's when Hecate can add and will add her strength to your own. You have to do something different. You have to do real world action for your spells to work. If you're not doing those things, if you're not interested in taking personal responsibility for yourself, yeah, you're not a witch. You are not a witch. If you're not willing to do real world action because it's too hard, or you might say it's too expensive, or you might say I don't have time, or it's too much work. then you are not a witch. I said at the beginning of this broadcast, witchcraft is not hard. Witchcraft is just like life, what you make it. Witchcraft is what you make it. It's not hard at all. It's not. The responsibility, the accountability falls solely on the witch. On the witch, nobody else but the witch. Take personal responsibility, take accountability, do real world action, make an effort, and then your spells will work. Clean out your house, clean out your circle of friends, and yes, also your family members. There may be some family members you have to cut off. You may have to cut off your grandmama, your daddy, and your mama. That's the truth. They can't go where you are trying to head off to. They can't. Because they don't have it. They don't have that specialness that us witches have. They don't know how to get it. They don't know how to get it. They don't. They don't. But you do. You do now after watching this broadcast, you do. Right now you do. Because no witch should be in lack. No witch should be going through life the hard way. You make your spells work by doing real world action, taking personal responsibility, taking accountability, and putting the effort into everything you do to make that spell, ritual, hex, or curse work in your favor exactly as you intended it to. So, thank you, witches, for joining me for this very quick, straight to the point broadcast here live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube on how do I make my spells work. Now you know how to make your spells work. It's not hard. It's not hard. Watch this broadcast as many times as you have to watch it. Take notes. Share this broadcast with other witches who may be wondering why their spells are not working. So they are informed that there is a high priestess in the great state of New York who is anointed and appointed by the Queen of Witches Hecate to deliver this message live here on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube on how to make your spells work with no sugarcoating, no beating around the bush. Not a long broadcast, less than 30 minutes long, because witches are powerhouses. Witches are powerhouses, but witches are only powerhouses if their spells work. Witches are only witches if their spells work. So after watching this broadcast, you now know how to make your spells work. And with that being said, witches, I now release you into the rest of your day. Bye, everyone.